Welcome back to the webinar series. In this session, I am going to discuss with you introduction to company accounts. Right? What are the basic requirements when we are planning to or when we are going to prepare company accounts? Right? Similar to partnership and other account, which means proprietor accounting, for limited liability companies financial statement also, we need to discuss basic requirements applicable for those. Once we discuss those basic requirements, the preparation of financial statement is not a big deal. In this session, I am going to discuss with you the basic requirement to prepare company's accounts. Right? Prior to that, I wanted to take you all to first webinar session which explained the advantages and disadvantages of limited liability companies. Understanding that is more important to carry out today's session. Right? If you look at this screen, some of them are listed as advantages and some points I have mentioned as what? Disadvantages. If you take advantages quickly, limited liability makes what? Investment less risky. Which means when you compare this with partnership and proprietor companies, Thanipujjalu Vyapara, right? Investment is less risky, which means at the liquidation point or when you bankrupt, your liability will be limited to what? The invested share capital. That is the first advantage you have. From ethical point of view, it's a different story, but this is legal background. Limited liability makes raising finance easier. For partnerships and proprietor companies, partners and or individual owners has to put money, capital to the business. But since you have more shareholders in limited liability companies, once you issue shares, people will buy it. Through that you can raise funds. So raising funds is not a big problem for limited liability companies. That is also one advantage they have. Third one, a limited liability company has separate legal identity. For limited liability company, in front of cause, in front of law, you are a separate legal entity, which means customers, suppliers, anybody can't take any actions against directors of the company under their names, but whatever the claim you have to claim from whom? The company. Let's say company provide bad quality goods or less quality products, so then customers can file against cases against company name, not under individual director's name. There are often tax advantages to be in a limited liability company. There are often tax advantages. You have a tax advantages also. Why I am saying tax advantages? Let's say for some companies you have concessionary tax rate. For some companies you have tax-free tax holidays, which means to certain number of years you will government will not pay charge taxes, specifically for export companies. If you are a BOI company, you have tax-free time period. Likewise, some tax advantages also you have. It is relatively easier to transfer shares from one owner to another one. You can easily transfer shares from one person to another person, which means I can, if I have shares of John Kales, as an example, I can sell my shares tomorrow to someone else. But partnership, you can't transfer capital to another partner or new partner easily. But in limited liability company, if you don't want shares, if you want to dilute your ownership, you can sell shares to third parties. Disadvantages. Limited liability companies have to publish annual financial statements. So you can't keep your financial records with you. You have to figure out performance of the organization, financial position, cash flows, and you have to share with whom? Shareholders, and you have to publish. That may require some cost, time, employees. No option, you have to do it. Disadvantage. Limited liability company financial statement have to comply with legal and accounting requirements. As you wish, you can't prepare. You have to prepare financial statement according to regulatory framework and financial reporting framework, which means you have to apply laws and regulations when you prepare financial statements, as well as you have to comply with Sri Lanka accounting standard, which means LKS and SLFRS. The financial statement of limited liability companies have to be audited. It's subject to audit. Why it is subject to audit? Not like partners, partnership and proprietors. In partnership and proprietor companies, individual partners and the proprietor will involve to the business. He will manage the business, day-to-day business operations. But in limited liability companies, shareholders, they will invest money in the business, but they don't involve for what? Day-to-day business operations. Board of directors and senior management, they will run the business. Therefore, to give more visibility for shareholders, to ensure what management has, whether management has done proper job or not in their day-to-day life, it's required to have what? Audit by third party person. Why? Because shareholders are not involved in day-to-day business. Therefore, if management, board of directors present something wrong to shareholders, they will take wrong decisions. They don't know about in and out of the company. They just invested. Through independent audit, or shareholders will take assurance saying, yes, management has declared their duties properly or not. Share issues are regulated by law. Even you can raise shares by issuing shares, funds by issuing shares, you can't issue as you wish. It's subject to what? Regulatory requirements. There are laws and regulations applicable when you issue what? Shares of limited liability company, right? And important part, you can see 3 question marks, shareholders and board of directors, same or not? This is explained through what? Agency theory. Look at my first session. I am repeating the same. Agency theory or agency conflict means what? Shareholders and board of directors are 2 different parties. Shareholders, they have invested money in the business and their expectation is to earn profit. Board of directors, they are the people who manage the business. Their intention is to earn salary and other benefits for them like bonus. 2 different objectives. Shareholders expecting profit, board of directors expecting salaries. So this objective mismatch in management we identify as what? Agency conflict or agency theory. Because of this, shareholders, they need assurance from individual party whether board of directors has declared their duties properly or not. Sometimes to get more bonus, more salary increment, promotions, they will show some wrong figures, wrong performance of the business to shareholders. Maybe shareholders will happy saying that we have earned this much of profit, but actual situation may not be the case. Therefore, it's required audit. That is also we are discussed under disadvantages. Actually, it is an advantage from shareholders' point of view, but from cost perspective, from timing perspective, for company it may be additional activity. That's why they put it as a disadvantage. But anyway, from shareholders' point of view, it's a good point for them. Then you need to understand, sometimes you will think shareholders and board of directors are same. No. Shareholders are the people who have invested in the business. Let's say if you purchase 1000 shares of John Keells, you can't represent the board. What I can the board of director position because I have 1000 shares. No. To argue like that, you have to have significant, or you should be able to significant influence. You should be able to give control. You should be able to control the business, or you should put you should be able to give significant influence to the organization. If not, you can't be a board of director in that company by having small number of shares, but you can purchase shares. All shareholders are not board of directors, but if you have majority shares, you can represent the board. That is also fine. Shareholder can be a board of director, but all shareholders are not board of directors. On other way around, all board of directors are not shareholders. Board of directors means employees of the organization. Right? Fine. Done. Accounting records of limited liability company. Why I am talking about this Company Act requirement? This is Company Act requirement. Examiner can be tested because this is MCQ. Right? Don't forget it. Companies in Sri Lanka, according to Company Act, what is the Company Act? Number 7 of 2007. According to Company Act, companies in Sri Lanka are required by this Act to keep accounting record which correctly record and explain the company's transaction. You need to keep accounting record correctly, right, and explain company transaction and enable the financial position of the company to be determined with the reasonable accuracy. You have to maintain to enable financial position of the company to determine with reasonable accuracy and enable directors to prepare financial statement accordance with this Act. Enable financial statement of the company to reliably and properly audited. So this is the Company Act requirement. Company Act says keep accounting record which correctly record and explain company's transaction in this way. Right? This is number 7 Company Act requirement. Accounting record of limited liability companies. The Act also set content of accounting record. Very important word is what? Content of accounting records. Entries of money received and expended each day by day, the company and matters in respect of which such monies was spent, which means you should keep accounting record on money received and the money spent on other business. From where you received money and for what purposes you spend money. To understand it, you have to keep proper accounting records. A record of assets and liabilities of the company. You have to keep asset and liabilities record of the company. See, if the company business involve dealing in goods, right? A record of goods bought and sold. If you deal in buying and selling business, the record of goods bought and sold also you have to properly maintain. Except goods sold for cash in the ordinary course of carrying out retail business, identified both goods and buyers and sellers and the relevant invoices. So all detail related goods purchased, sold, you have to properly maintain. A record of stocks at the end of financial year. Not only buying the goods purchased and sold, whatever remaining stocks also you have to properly maintain at the end of financial year together with records of any stock taken during the year. Next one, if the company business involve providing services, if you provide service, not selling goods and not selling goods, right? If you are in service, if you are a service provider, a record of service provided and the relevant invoices also you have to maintain. The detailed requirement of accounting record which must be maintained will vary from country to country. So this is number 7 Company Act, number 7 2007 Company Act in Sri Lanka, but this requirement can be vary from company to company in different countries. That also you have to understand. Stated capital. In previous session, if you can remember, we have discussed capital for partnerships, how to deal with drawings, how to deal with interest, how to work with salaries of partners, everything. From this point onwards, we are going to discuss how those will be applicable to which companies? Limited liability companies. So, stated capital means similar to other companies, like if it is proprietary company, the capital introduced by the owner, capital account. Partnership also, partners, they invest money in the business, that invested amount, capital account. Stated capital means how much of money, how much of capital they have invested in shares. Stated capital means that. So, according to Company Act, actually, in preparing statement of financial position, you must be able to deal with ordinary shares and preference shares in the stated capital. So, the stated capital include ordinary shares, samanya kotas, preference shares, which means varaniya kotas, and reserves and debentures also. So, we have to deal with these three things. We have to understand these three things properly, and we have to understand accounting requirement of these three properly, right? We will do it, do not worry. As per section 58 Companies Act in Sri Lanka, the stated capital of the company means, stated capital kiyala kiyanne, monies received on shares issued. What share issue kalam mechi salli, money received on shares issued, and monies received and receivable on called, which means called up capital. Call on shares are call from directors to shareholders for monies unpaid on their shares. Understand? According to section 58 Company Act, stated capital kiyala kiyanne mokadda? Company of a company means monies received on shares issued. මේ වෙනකල හම්බෙලා තියෙන සල්ලි ටික. And monies received and receivable on calls. මොකද්ද මේ calls කියලා කියන්නේ? Call on share are call from directors. The directors are the people who manage the business. Call on shares are call from director. මේ call එක කියන්නේ කාගෙන්ද? Direct again කාටද? To shareholders for monies unpaid on their shares. Sometimes let's say share price 10 rupees. You have paid 5 and purchase shares. So then that 5 will be represented in share capital. So whatever remain unpaid amount when board of directors call, that is also represent what? Share capital, right? So according to section 58 Company Act, stated capital means monies received and receivable, both. Whatever monies you have received so far and receivable from shareholders, which means shares issued and call on shares. So whatever received money already and receivable, both will represent what? Share capital, stated capital, according to section 58 Company Act. Then that's we have to discuss one by one, right? Then we are going to discuss what? Preference shares, ordinary shares and preference shares. So preference shares, understanding characteristic of preference shares also very, very important. Why? Because this will be tested in your exam. Why? It is MCQ. If it is actually written paper, we can give less attention for this. Since this is MCQ, examiner can touch each and every area. Don't forget it, right? Preference shares we will take first. Then we will move into ordinary shares later on. Preference shares, these are characteristics. We will take one by one. Preference shares are shares which confer certain preferential rights on their holders. you have preference right. When you hold preference shares, you have preferential rights for preference shares. What those specific rights that you have? Preference shares carry the rights to finance final dividends, which is expected as fixed percentage. Make note there. Always for preference shares, you have fixed percentage. Let's say you have purchased 10,000 shares, 10,000 worth of shares, your preference share capital 10,000. So you will take fixed dividend, fixed percentage of dividend on the shares issued, right? But in ordinary shares, you don't have fixed percentage as a return. Return means share dividend. Whatever remaining profit, out of remaining profit, one portion will be distributed to ordinary shareholders, but that will not fixed. If you earn more profit after paying all expenses including preference dividends, ordinary shareholders will enjoy some better return. If you make loss, you don't have anything. But even at loss situation, sometimes preference shareholders, they are eligible for what? Fixed dividends. You are at a low risk when you compare with ordinary shares. Fixed percentage, make a note there. Preference dividends have priority over ordinary dividends. Before you pay dividends to ordinary shareholders, company should pay dividends to whom? Preference shareholders at a fixed rate. You are given priority for whom? Preference shareholders. Preference shareholders have a priority rights over ordinary shareholders to return on their capital if the company goes into liquidation. At the liquidation or at bankrupt situation, right? If you bankrupt, preference shareholders have a priority over whom? Ordinary shareholders. So we have to pay preference shares first before you pay ordinary shareholders. Understand? Very important point. Next one. Preference share do not carry voting rights to appoint new director, to take business decisions. Preference shareholders can't vote. All the business decisions will be taken by whom? Ordinary shareholders, right? Preference shareholders, it's just an investment. For that, they will get fixed return and they have a priority over ordinary shareholders, but they don't have a voting rights. Important. If the preference shares are cumulative, sometimes preference shares are cumulative, we can consider as cumulative preference shares or non-cumulative preference shares. If preference shares are cumulative, which means if you make a loss in last year, company will not declare dividends even to preference shareholders or ordinary shareholders. But in this year, if you make considerable significant profit, whatever unpaid dividends last year for preference shareholders, you will pay this year, which is called cumulative preference shares. It means that before the company can pay ordinary dividends, it must not only pay current year's preference dividends. Normally we know when you pay dividends, current year dividends, you have to pay preference dividends first before the ordinary dividends. Even before this year's preference dividends, you have to, but must also make good and arrears of preference dividends unpaid in the previous years. If last year, if there is any remaining unpaid preference dividends, that also you have to pay first before you come to whom? Ordinary shareholders, right? Understand? Clear. Those are the characteristics of benefits you have as whom? Preference shareholder. This is really important to understand, and this can be tested in your exam. Right? I am expecting a question from this area this time. Therefore, be with me to understand this properly. Classification of preference shares. Preference shares we can classify as redeemable preference shares and irredeemable preference shares. What do you mean by redeemable preference shares? Let me explain first before we go into the slide. Redeemable preference shares means at any given point in future, you will repay that capital. Let's say you have purchased, you have issued 10,000, let's say 10,000 preference shares at a rate of 1 rupee per share. So altogether share capital value 10,000. So let's say you issued this 2019 financial year, 2017, 2020 you can redeemed. Redeems means you can repay this capital. You can repay this capital, which is called redeemable. So once you redeemed it, those people are no longer shareholders of the company. Understand? Redeemable means you can repay. Now look at this slide. Redeemable preference shares means the company will redeem, which means repay, the nominal value of those shares at a later date, which means once you issue at the future date, in a future day, you will repay that. For an example, redeemable 5% rupees 1 preference share 2009 means that the company will pay these shareholders 1 rupee for every share they hold on certain date in 2009. Whatever date in future, you will repay. The shares will be cancelled and no further dividends paid. Once you redeem, no further dividends. I told you they are no longer shareholders of the organization. Right? Redeemable preference shares are treated like loans and included as non-current liabilities in the statement of financial position. So normally we treated it as loan and we included them where? In the non-current liabilities. Understand? Very important point. Sometimes you think redeemable preference shares, irredeemable preference shares. We have learned these things in our A-level exams. Therefore, no point of learning these things right now. Fine. But understand this classification also important. Normally, we identify redeemable preference shares as what? Non-current liabilities and in the financial position. Remember, don't forget, remember to classify them as current liabilities if redemption is due within 12 months. In next 12 months, if you are going to redeem those, you have to classify them under what? Current liabilities. If you redeemed in more than 12 months period, no need to classify them as current, then it will be non-current. But if you if you redeemed in next 12 months, you have to classify them as current liabilities. Remember, right? Dividend paid on preference shares are treated like interest paid on loans. Normally we consider preference share dividends similar to loan interest. Why I am saying like that? That will include where? Under finance cost in the statement of profit and loss. බැලූ බැලමට දැන් ඔයාලට තේරෙන මේ redeemable preference shares කියන්නේ මොනවද? මේ ඇත්තටම මේ preference share කියලා නම දැම්මට මේක මොකක් වගේද? Loan taken from shareholders, preference shareholders. You will classify that as non-current liabilities or current liabilities, and the dividend paid will be classified under finance cost. The treatment is very similar to loan. Don't forget, that is not for all preference shares. That is only for who? What? Redeemable preference shares. If it is irredeemable, the story will be different. Be careful. Examiner will touch on these points. Examiner can prepare nice questions by using these things. Right? Fine. When it comes to irredeemable, irredeemable means you will not redeem. If not, what will happen? Irredeemable preference shares are usually treated just like other shares that are classified as equity, and their dividends are treated as appropriation of profit. Right? Usually treated like other shares and classified under equity. Irredeemable shares classified as non-current liabilities. Irredeemable, it is similar to ordinary shares. When I say ordinary shares, not ordinary shares, these will enjoy fixed dividends. You will get priority over ordinary shareholders, but you will classify it under equity. Why? Because you will never redeem these things. Therefore, very much similar to ordinary shares, but rights and the privilege they have is different from ordinary shareholders. Right? Fine. In short, preference shares means you will receive fixed interest, you can take cumulative dividends, fixed dividends, and you have all preference shareholders, they are given priority before ordinary shareholders. Preference shares we can divide into redeemable and irredeemable. Redeemable is very much similar to accounting treatment, very much similar to long-term loans. Irredeemable very much similar to ordinary shares, but dividend and priority is there, fixed dividends and priority is there before ordinary shareholders at the liquidation and the bankruptcy. Right? Fine. Question. Read this question and we'll try to figure out it. The question is from preference shares, right? Identify how you would classify redeemable preference shares in financial statement for the year ended 30th June 2008 if shares are due to be redeemed in September 2009. How do you classify redeemable preference shares? As a part of equity, as a long-term liability, and current liability. The answer is B. Why it is long-term liability? The question is this, you may confused. Sometimes you will select wrong answer. You will think, alright, this is current liability. Why? Identify how you would redeem preference shares in the financial statement for the year ended 30th June 2008 if the preference shares are to be redeemed in 2009 September. We are in 2008 and redemption will happen in 2019. 2018 to 2019, it's 1 year, no. So then it should be current liability. No. from June 2018 to September 2019, you have how many period? 15 months. Since it has 15 months, you have to classify this as what? Long-term liability. Right? Read the answer. The preference shares are not due to be redeemed until 15 months after the period end, and so form part of non-current liabilities. You have to classify this under non-current liabilities. Be careful between the dates. Don't look at only the years. These are the mistakes that you can do. Some of you will think, right, 2018 to 2019, 1 year. Therefore, we need to classify that as what? Current liability. No, it's long-term liability. Some of you will think, right, this is as a part of equity. No. Why it is not equity? It is redeemable. If it is irredeemable, yes, you can classify it under what? Equity. Those are the questions that examiner can be tested. Be careful. Then coming to what? Ordinary shares. Right? Ordinary shares and preference shares. Ordinary shares. Ordinary share, sorry, under ordinary shares and preference shares, we have completed preference shares, now ordinary shares. Ordinary shares are by far the most common type of shares. To carry number of, they carry number of rights to fixed dividends. So they carry no rights to fixed dividends, which means ordinary shareholders, they don't have fixed dividends. Only preference shareholders, they have fixed dividends. Once we pay all the expenses and dividends for preference shareholders, if anything remains, then that will be distributed, or part of that will be distributed as dividend to whom? Ordinary shareholders. But entitled to all profit left after payment of preference shareholders, all or part of it. When you pay all expenses and preference share dividends, the remaining part you can enjoy in fully or part of it. Generally, however, only a part of such remaining profit is distributed and the rest being kept in reserve, that we will identify as what? Retained earning. So normally from profit after tax you pay preference dividends. Once you pay preference dividends, you will have retained profit for the year. From that profit for the year, part of it will be paid to ordinary shareholders. One part of will added to retained earnings. Simple, right? Or else entire profit you can distribute to ordinary shareholders if you want. If not, part of you can pay, other part we can add it to reserves. That will be discussed, don't worry. Ordinary shares are which are not preferred with regard to dividends payment. There is no any preferred. There is no fixed dividends. If you make loss, no dividends. If you perform better, yes, you will enjoy dividends. Thus, holder only receives dividends after fixed dividends have been paid to preference shareholders. Simple. So basically, in short, what you need to understand, ordinary shareholders, they don't enjoy fixed dividends. If you make loss, no dividends. If you perform better, yes, you will enjoy dividends. After paying preference shareholders dividends out of the profit you earn during the year, entire remaining part you can enjoy as ordinary dividends, or part of it you will paid as ordinary dividends. But that payment is not fixed, right? Understand. So basically, in short, ordinary shareholders are the owners of the business. They have voting rights. They can appoint new directors. They can take business decisions, right? They have voting rights basically. But preference shareholders, they don't have any voting rights. In that context, ordinary shareholders are the owners of the business, right? Fine. Question. Garden Gloves company has issued 50 million ordinary shares of rupees 1 each and 20 million 7% preference shares of rupees 1 each. Its profit after taxation for the year to 30th September 2005, 8.4 million. The management board has decided to pay an ordinary dividend to ordinary shares, which is 50% of the profit after tax. Profit after tax and preference dividends. Record the amount of total dividends and retained profit and calculate dividend per share on ordinary shares. So, how do we calculate this? Look at this. So, we have to take first profit before tax. How much the profit before tax? Profit after tax, 8.4 million. Profit after tax, 8.4 million. We will work out this in thousands, 8,400. So, from 8,400 you have to pay first preference dividends. You have to pay preference dividends. How much? Preference dividends, according to the question, we have 7%, we have 20 million preference shares at 7%. Preference dividends how much? 1,400. How do you calculate it? 20 million into 7%. In our case, 20,000 into 7%, 1,400. Right? Right? Then 50%, the balance profit how much? 7,000. 7,000. Right? Balance profit 50,000, remains profit 7,000, out of which you pay 50% to ordinary shareholders. So, after paying 7% to preference shareholders, this is balance. From this 50% paid to whom? Ordinary dividends. $7,000 into 50%, 3,500. So, this is the balance which is called retained earning. The question is what? Record the amount of total dividends and retained profit and calculate dividend per share on ordinary shares. Now, the question is not to calculate only these things, you have to calculate retained earning. This is retained earning because out of the profit you earn 7,000. This is the remains profit to ordinary shareholders. This 7,000 belongs to ordinary shareholders. Out of which only we paid 7,000 as dividends. Balance is what? Retained earnings. Right? Now they are asking per share dividends. Dividends per ordinary share. We paid 3,500. Number of ordinary shares how much? You have 50 million, which means 50,000. 3,500 divided by 50,000. Per share, dividend how much? 0.7. Right? In your balance sheet, how do you show this? Share capital under equity. Ordinary shares, how much? 50 million. This is balance sheet presentation. Preference shares, how much? 20,000. Retained earning, right? You have, there is no balance they have given, right? Retained earning balance they have not, opening balance they have not given. 3,500 the retained earnings, and dividend will charge to P&L, right? Fine. So this is the accounting treatment, and this is how do we account dividends in our books. Look at this, market value of shares. This is also little important to understand, right? Market value of shares. Some of you will understand, right? Even though in this case we issued shares. Now in this case, in this question, each share value how much? 1 rupee and 1 rupee, right? This is share price. But this is issued price, book value of shares. The market price can be different. So this is market price 3, or this market price may be, let's say, 4. So in the market, the prices will be selling at a different rate. Where you can sell these shares in Colombo Stock Exchange. When I purchase from the company 50,000 shares at a rate of 1, I will sell these shares in share market at a different rate, maybe 10 rupees. That depends on what? Demand and supply of shares in the share market. So day by day, based on the market condition, based on the performance of the organization, the share price of this company will be higher. Which means now let's say John Keells. These days maybe, I am not talking about John Keells, forget about John Keells. These days hotel sector share price will be down. Why? Their performance, the organization performance is at a lower rate. Why at a lower rate? There is no foreigners coming to Sri Lanka. Even Sri Lankan people can't go and enjoy at a hotel because of this COVID-19 issue. So profitability of hotel sector or tourism industry has come down. What will happen? People will not go and buy shares of those companies. Why? If you buy today, tomorrow you can't sell it. Some people are buying and selling shares. You buy shares today at 10 rupees and when it's come to 20, you will sell it. And you have a capital gain. As far as you are keeping, you will enjoy what? Dividend also. That's why you purchase shares, not to be a director of a company. If so, you will purchase significant percentage of shares, but then and there people will purchase shares to enjoy dividends and the capital gain. Because of dividends and performance at a lower rate, dividends will be low. Because performance at a lower rate, share price also will be less. That is the market price of shares. In today's context, which company share price may be at higher rate? Hospital share, if you take hospitals, that those company shares may be selling at a higher rate. Why? Because their performance is very high. More than hotels or hospitals, if you look at Dialog, SLT, for those companies, this COVID issue is not a big problem now. Forget about ethical things. From business perspective, most of the meetings online, it's required data. We don't go and work physically. Because of that, we have to have meetings, communication virtually. Dialog, SLT, they are making huge money. So their performance at a high rate. Now Dialog share price is very high. Those who have purchased shares of Dialog 2015, now you will sell at a high rate. Because the performance is very high, share price also will high. That is the market price of share. But understand, change in market price will not have impact to Dialog company's books of accounts. Shareholders will sell shares at a different rate at the market, but for company there is no impact of that transaction. Some of you will think, when we sell shares at let's say 150 rupee, which I have bought sometimes ago at 10 rupee, you have to record the 150 in the books. No, nothing like that. That is external transaction beyond the company. Company, that book value will be represent. That is what you need to understand in this story. Clear? Because if I have 1000 shares of Dialog, I no need to take board approval to sell this to someone else. If people are there to purchase, so I can sell my shares to them. No need to get any permission from anyone. Therefore, those transactions will not disclose to company, not available to company, that is offline the company. Company will not involve for that. Therefore, no impact on company. That is market price. Right? Read this. The issued value of shares will be different from their market value. Make a note there. Which is the price at which someone is prepared to purchase shares in the company from an exiting shareholders. If Mr. A owns 1 million shares in Z company issued at rupees 1 each, he may sell them to Mr. B at 1.6 each. That 1.6 transaction price will be decided based on the demand available in the market for those shares. The transaction will happen beyond the control of board of directors also. Therefore, when you sell these shares at a rate of 1.6, you don't worry about that transaction. Clear? Fine. This transfer of existing shares does not affect Z company's financial position. I have highlighted it. You also have to take the same note. When you sell shares at 1.6, that has not impact on Z company's financial position. Still share capital at the issued rate. In any way and whatever. Apart from change in the register of members, Z company does not have to bother with the sale by Mr. X and Mr. B at all, which means that Z company will not worry about the transaction between Mr. A and B. In other way, Dialog will not worry if I sell the shares I have to someone else. They can't stop that transaction. Why? Because there is no impact to company's book. Shares in private companies do not change hands very often. Why? The market price will be available for this is also very important to understand. Market price for shares will be available if shares are traded in Colombo Stock Exchange. If you are a listed company only, you can go and purchase shares of that company. Understand? Right? If you have shares of private limited company, which means family owned business, their shares will not be selling. They are in Colombo Stock Exchange. Therefore, you can't go and purchase shares of private limited company. You can't meet shareholders and ask, look here shareholder, I need to purchase 1000 shares. They will say, this is family owned business, we are a private limited company, we are not going to sell our shares. If you want to purchase shares, you go and purchase listed company shares from Colombo Stock Exchange. Therefore, market value oftenly not available for private limited company shares. Understand? Market value available only for listed companies shares. Why? Because only listed companies, they are selling their shares in Colombo Stock Exchange in the open market. Colombo Stock Exchange is available to sell and buy which company shares? Listed company shares, not family owned business shares. Hence, the market value is often hard to estimate. Companies listed on Colombo Stock Exchange are quoted, therefore it is that is the market value of shares which is quoted. So, quoted price is available for only listed companies shares, not for private limited companies shares. Debentures. This is another way of raising funds to the business. We have discussed three ways of raising funds to the business. One way is of issuing preference shares, or either redeemable preference shares or irredeemable preference shares, or else you can issue ordinary shares. Finally, you can issue what? Debentures, right? Look at the screen. Limited liability companies may issue what? Debentures. They are also referred to as debentures, loan capital and loan note or bonds. Highlight all the words. If I ask this question from one student, what is the difference between debenture and loan capital and loan and bonds? You may confuse and you will try to give a answer, but make a note there. All these are come under the definition of what? Debentures. We call it as debentures, we call loan capital, we call it as loan notes, or else you can say bonds. All these four terms commonly used for what? To address debentures. These are long term liabilities, very much similar to what? Redeemable preference shares or long term loan. They are different from stated capital in the following ways. Very important slide. Examiner can be tested. Examiner can test set nice questions from this slide. Shareholders are members of the company, of a company. Shareholders are members of a company, while providers of debentures are whom? Creditors. Debenture holders are creditors of the organization. Shareholders are owners of the organization. That's the difference. If you hold ordinary shares, you have ownership to the company. If you have debentures, you have not ownership, but you are a lender or you are a creditor of the organization. Shareholders receive dividends, whereas debenture holders receive what? Fixed rate of interest. If you are a shareholder, you enjoy, your return is what? Dividends. Debenture holders, your return is what? Interest. All investors, they have a return in different ways. Shareholders dividends, debenture holders interest, but both are return. And dividends will be appropriation of profit. You pay dividend from profit after tax, but interest is what? Expense of the organization. Debenture holders can take legal actions to the company if they don't pay interest, but shareholders can't take any legal actions against the company if they don't receive what? Dividends. Very important. Debenture holders, for them, you must pay interest. You can't say this year we ended up with losses, because of that we can't pay anything. Those stories you can't tell to whom? You can't apply to debenture holders. You must pay dividend for them, so interest for them. And in the absence of that payment, debenture holders can take legal actions against the company. But shareholders, if they don't declare dividends, you have to be keep quiet. You can't take any legal actions against the company. Next one. Debentures are often secured on company assets, which means, whereas shareholders' shares are not, which means debentures are often secured on the company assets, which means you have a security, less risk if you hold debentures, right, rather than shareholders. Why? Because at the liquidation or at any given point, company has to give priority for whom? Debentures when you settle liabilities. Interest is usually paid half year, which means for debentures, how do you pay interest? Normally semi-annual interest you will pay. So normally for debenture holders, 30th September we pay one interest, and at the end of financial year 31st March you pay another set of interest. So semi-annual interest you will pay to debenture holders, not monthly, but after every 6 months you pay interest to whom? Debentures. Next one, reserves, very, very important, right? Stated capital and reserves are owned by shareholders. Shareholders' equity is what? Shareholders' ownership is therefore ordinary shares and the reserves. Look at this. Understanding this concept also little important. Not little, more important. Right. Ordinary shares, this much. Reserves. What are the reserves you have? You have revaluation reserve, and you have retained earning. This is what? Shareholders' equity. This is called actually equity, or else shareholders' fund. This is the shareholders' ownership, right, which include both share capital, ordinary shares, plus all the reserves, or else we can name it as equity or net assets. Make it up in net assets scale. Share capital plus reserves. How do we calculate this? Total asset minus total liabilities equal equity, or else net asset, right? This is what shareholders' ownership. Keep this in your mind, right? Fine. Then read this to see whether that interpretation is there on the slide or not. Stated capital and reserves are owned by shareholders. They are known collectively as shareholders' equity. අපි කියනවා shareholders' equity, right? Sorry, this is shareholders' equity. Shareholders' funds කිව්වත් හරි. Shareholders' equity. Shareholders' equity. Shareholders' equity consists of following. The board also that is there. Value of stated capital minus any amount not yet called up or not issued or unissued, or other equity. Other equity consists of what? Revaluation surplus, reserves, and retained earning. This is called other equity, reserves. Other equity consists of both revaluation and retained earnings. That's the combination of or definition of what? Reserves. Look at this, revaluation surplus. Now we are going to discuss what? Other equities. Revaluation surplus, this is not a new concept for you all, right? So according to LKS 16, property, plant and equipment, entity can follow cost model or revaluation model to measure property, plant and equipment subsequently at the end of each reporting period. Either cost model or revaluation model. If you select revaluation model, entire class of assets should be revalued at least 3 to 5 years. Minimum 3 or 5 years time, you have to do what? Revaluation. If you select revaluation model, right? So then you will create revaluation surplus or deficit. Read this. The result of upward revaluation of non-current asset according to LK 16, right? Upward means revalued amount is higher than the carrying amount. Then you have upward revaluation, right? Current assets, non-current asset is revaluation surplus, appearing on revaluation surplus scale. The reserves in non-distributable as it is represent unrealized profit on revalued asset. This reserve is not distributable. Some of the reserves you can distribute to whom? Shareholders, but revaluation reserve you can't distribute. Why? Because it is not realizable. It's a value increase that will not realize. To realize it, you have to sell the asset. Soon after revaluation, you will not sell the assets. No. Therefore, don't forget, you will not realize, you can't share that to shareholders till you dispose the asset. In another, it is another capital reserve. It is another capital reserve. The relevant part of the revaluation surplus can be only realized if the asset in the question is sold. I told you, at the liquidation, at the disposal point you can realize that gain. Thus, realized in gain. The revaluation surplus may fall. Sometimes that revalued amount can come down. However, if an asset which had a previous revaluation upward suffered the fall in value in next revaluation, which means simply this. Let's say this year you had revaluation reserve of 1000, which means market value of the land has increased by 1000. The carrying amount, let's say 10,000, market value, the revalued amount 11,000. So the reserve how much? 1000. Next year that was reduced to 10,500. So then that fall down you have to absorb where? From this. So double entry what? Here double entry, property, plant and equipment, that land debit, credit revaluation reserve. Credit revaluation reserve. When it's fall down, credit property, plant and equipment, debit where? Revaluation reserve. So then revaluation reserve will be 500 balance. Any fall down of revaluation you have to absorb through what? Whatever the resource you have. If you don't have it, that you have to charge to P&L. Understand? This is how do you deal with revaluation. I think you are very well aware about it, and we have discussed that under LK 16. Go and watch that video, then you can find it out, right? How to deal with revaluation. In short, whatever the fall down amount, you have to first absorb through whatever the gain you have in the balance sheet. Reserves. In most countries, the distinction must be made between statutory reserves and non-statutory reserves. What do you mean by statutory reserves? Which are the reserves that company is required to set up by law. It's a legal requirement, and which are not available for distribution of dividends. You can't use those statutory reserves to distribute dividends, and you have to keep in the business by law to ensure healthiness or going concern of the business sometimes. Non-statutory reserves means which are reserves consist in profit that are distributable as a dividends. Non-statutory means whatever the amounts you can distribute to shareholders, right. In short, statutory reserves are capital reserves, maybe revaluation reserves, not maybe, that is revaluation reserves, capital reserves, which cannot be distributed to shareholders. Non-statutory reserves are revenue reserves, which means retained earning. Revenue reserves is an old term in the financial statement, and this is now referred to as what? Retained earning. So, statutory means basically what? Non-distributable reserves, example revaluation reserve. Non-statutory reserves means reserves that you can distribute to shareholders, example is what? Retained earnings. Done. Dividends. Dividends are appropriation of profit after tax, which means profit after tax you will, from profit after tax you pay what? Dividends, right. Appropriation of profit after tax. This appropriation account, if you can remember, we have discussed there in partnership also, that account we will use to distribute profit to whom? Partners. Here dividends also in account, company accounts, appropriation of profit. Shareholders are entitled to share of profit made by the company, which is the dividend basically. Many companies pay dividends in two stages during the course of their accounting year, right. Mid-year, which is called interim dividends. When it's come after, say, every 6 months you pay dividends. So, in the middle of the year if you pay dividends, that we identify as what? Interim dividends. Can be tested in your exam, be careful. At the end of the year, you might propose further dividends, which is called final dividends. If you declare dividends at the end of the year, which is the final dividend. If you declare in the middle of the year, which is called interim dividends. At the end of accounting year, company managers may have proposed a final dividend payment, but this will not yet have been paid, very, very important. If you can remember previous webinar on LKS 10, we have identified proposed dividend does not appear in the accounts. Whatever proposed accounts we will not take into account, but according to LKS 10, we have to record it as what? Event after reporting period, which is a disclosure. So, whatever the final dividend declared, proposed, not declared, proposed, we have to treat under LKS 10 event after balance sheet date, right, but you will not take into account till you make the payment. That is all about dividends. The last part, retained earning. Why I am investing this much of quality time on this? Why? Because exam can be tested this time, MCQ, do not forget, right. Do not give less priority for these things, give more priority. Retained earning, most significant reserve in the business, we name it as revenue reserve, retained earning, accumulated profit, undistributed profit, unappropriated profit. A, B, C, D, E all use to address what? Retained earning basically, right. These are profit earned by the company and not appropriated by dividends. These are profit earned by the company, but not distributed to shareholders as dividends. Appropriated by dividends, not appropriated by dividends, taxation or transfer to another reserve accounts. Whatever retained things in the organization, right. Provided that company is earning profit, this reserve generally increase from year on year, as most companies do not distribute all profit as dividends. Normally, whatever the profit earned during a period, companies will not distribute entire amount. part of it will keep, that is identified as what? Retained earning. Dividend can be paid from it, dividend can be paid off from it, even if a loss made in one particular year, dividend can be paid from previous retained earning. That's the purpose basically. Let's say if you earn loss in this year, you can use whatever retained earning to pay shareholders dividends in this situation. Now this is good time to discuss that. Most of the companies, they end up with losses during this period. Why? Because COVID-19 situation. When you earn loss during a period, shareholders may be unhappy since they are not eligible for dividends. But don't worry, since you have retained earning, which means accumulated profit throughout the last period, you can use to distribute among whom? Shareholders. Right? Fine. Then, important point again, bonus and right issues. What do you mean by bonus and what do you mean by right issues? We'll take bonus first and we'll move in to discuss right issues. A company can increase its stated capital by means of bonus issues or right issues. Your share capital will be increased, but bonus issue and right issue, two different concepts, even though share capital increase. Therefore, we have to take one by one. A company may wish to increase stated capital without raising additional finance by issuing new shares. Sometimes company may wish to increase their share capital by issuing shares, but without financing through new shares. Why this required? Now let's say initially you form a business by issuing, let's say, 1,000 shares. Now the company is performing better and year on year you accumulate profit. As a result, after 10 years time period, you have a huge retained earning in the business. But when you compare retained earning with share capital 1,000, retained earning millions of money. To show high number of shares also in your organization, you can reclassify some amount of retained earning to what? Share capital, which is called bonus issue. Reclassify retained earning to share capital. Why? You are a well established company in the market, but your share capital very much low. To increase number of shares without raising additional finance, you can use what? Bonus issues, bonus shares. For example, a profitable company might expand from modest beginning over the number of years. Its profitability would reflect the large balance its reserves on its reserves, while its original stated capital looks like much smaller business. If you look at share capital, it seems smaller business, but you have big return earning, right? To give good picture about the organization, what you can do? Some of the return you can classify it as share capital through what? Bonus issues. It is open to such companies to reclassify some of the reserves as what? Stated capital. This purely a paper exercise which raise no funds. Understand? No funds. Any reserve may be reclassified in this way. Such reclassification increase capital on the company and gives creditors greater protection. So you are giving more assurance to other parties of the organization. Why? Because since we have this much of number of shares, right, compared to other businesses in the market. So you are giving more assurance to other parties in the organization by issuing bonus shares. Bonus shares mean basically what? Reclassification of retained earning as stated capital. So transfer from retained earning to what? Where? To stated capital. There are advantages and disadvantages of this. Before we go move into model question, look at advantages and disadvantages also. Increases capital without diluting shareholders holding. Shareholders ownership will not be diluted. If I have 1000 shares, I will take some amount of bonus shares based on the proportion that I have invested in the company, which means new shareholders will not come to the business. Bonus shares will be distributed according to the shares that they have invested, right? But it is not a new share issue to new shareholders. Shareholding will not be diluted. Capitalizes reserves, so they cannot pay it as dividends, right? Without paid in dividends, you can capitalize reserves. Disadvantages: by issuing bonus shares, you don't raise funds. You can't use this strategy as fundraising strategy. Could jeopardize payment of future dividends if profit falls. You have to be careful. When you classify return earning as stated capital through bonus issue, number of shares will be increased. So in future, even when you make loss, you have to pay dividends on that shares. Bonus issue කරාට පස්සේ කියන්න බෑ මෙයා bonus shares you are not eligible for dividend. Once you classified as what? Bonus issues, then you have to pay dividends on those shares. That is also one disadvantage. Look at this question. Read this. Bubbles company financial statement of financial position they have given, right? According to that share capital, ordinary shares 1000 they have, reserves revaluation reserve 500, return earning 2000, altogether 2500, total equity 3500. Bubbles decided to make 3 bonus shares, 3 for 2 bonus issues, which means every 3 shares, 3 bonus shares for 2 shares you have, they are going to issue 3 new shares for every 2 already held. The question is, we have to calculate how much of bonus shares we are going to issue, right? Right now, how many shares you have? 1000 shares. 1000 shares you have. You are giving another 3 new shares for every 2 shares. 3 new shares for 2. So which means 1500 shares you are going to issue as what? Bonus shares. So after issuing this, your equity structure will be changed like this. Share capital, right now you have 1000 plus this 1500. So share capital will equal to 2500. So reserves, capital reserve you have revaluation reserve of 500, that will not change, right? And retained earning, because okay, the revaluation reserve is what? Capital reserve. You can't use that for bonus issue purpose. Retained earning, you had 2000, out of that you have used 1500 to earn to issue bonus shares, therefore it will reduce to 500. So then 1000. So altogether 3500. Now look at the entire capital structure has been changed. Share capital has increased to 2500 from 1000. Retained earning has come down to 500 from 2000. So altogether shareholding structure has been, equity structure has been changed, but total equity remains unchanged. It's a reclassification from retained earning to share capital, right? Fine. That's about bonus issue. Now look at right issue. Right issue, unlike bonus issue, right, is an issue of shares for cash. In bonus issue, there is no fund raised to the organization. But here, funds also raised into the organization. The right are offered to existing shareholders. Rights given to whom? Existing shareholders who can sell them if they wish. If they want, they can sell it. This is beneficial for existing shareholders in that shares are usually issued at a discount on the current market price. Very important. Right issue will be issued to existing shareholders, right, at a lower price. Underline the word or highlight or make a note on this word, discounted price. Let's say shares are selling at 100 rupees right now in the market, but to existing shareholders, they will issue at a discount price, maybe 80 rupees, to raise funds to the organization, which is called right issues. Right issues will be issued to whom? Existing shareholders. Those shareholders can sell those shares to someone else. That's a different story. But here, issued to whom? First, existing shareholders, they will sell someone to someone else. Here, the difference between bonus issue and right issue is what? Bonus issue, there is no fundraising. Here, you will raise funds. Bonus issue means reclassification of return earning as share capital, but here, new shares used at a discount price. Advantages and disadvantages can be tested. Very important slide again. Here you will raise funds, keep reserves available for future dividends. Right? Those are the advantages. Disadvantages, shareholding can be diluted. Right? Diluting shareholders holding if they do not take up the right issue. That's why if they enjoy right issue, fine, existing shareholders. If they not enjoy and if they transfer to someone else outside the organization, new shareholders, shareholding can be diluted. Right? So those are the advantages and disadvantages of right issue. Look at this question, read this. Question. Clark Freeland Company statement of financial position as at 31st December 2013 extracted, numbers are given below. Stated capital rupees 1 8,000, revaluation reserve 7,000, retained earning 10,000, altogether 25,000 total equity. This company has decided on a right issue, one for 4 shares at 1.2 rupees. Calculate the double entry to record the share issue and prepare the adjusted financial position extracted after the issue. So what you need to do? You have to first calculate right issue. How many shares right now you have? 8,000 shares, each 1 rupee. We are issuing one share for 4 shares. For 4 shares, 1 share for 4 shares. This ratio also very important to understand. For each 4 shares, one share they are going to issue, which means 1/4, right? 2,000 shares they are going to issue. 2,000 shares at a rate of 1.2. Market price may be 1.5, at a lower price they are issuing, when book value at 1 rupee. So when you multiply 2000 in 1.2 to 2400, this is the value of right issue. So after right issue, what is the capital structure they are asking, right? So what is the double entry for this? First of all, double entry also they are asking. Debit bank, which means cash, 2,400. Credit share capital, 2,400. So this is the double entry. So balance sheet, after this share issue, share capital right now you have 8,000 plus 2,400. 2,400 altogether 10,400. 10,400. So then revaluation reserve will not change, remains unchanged. Revaluation reserve 7,000. Right? 7,000. Retained earning, earlier you had 10,000 out of, 10,000, the entire 10,000 will be remains as, because this is not a bonus issue, right? 10,000 එහෙමම තියෙනවා. මොකද earlier if it is bonus issue from 10,000 retained earning you reclassify to share capital, but here that will not happen. So here 20,000, 27,400. Shareholding structure has been changed and additional, early it was 25,000. The difference 2,400 is what? Right issue. Right? What you need to understand here, number of shares will not equal to 10,400. Number of shares. Number of shares how much? 8,000 plus 2,000, 10,000. That also you have to understand. Right? So these are the entries required, and this is the capital structure, revised capital structure. Early it was 25,000, now 27,400. Right, that's all about the theoretical aspects. So in this case we have discussed characteristic of, in this session, characteristic of what? Limited liability company and the advantages and disadvantages, and preference shares, ordinary shares, reserves, retained earning, revaluation reserves, bonus issues, right issues. Look at these model questions, right? A company has a balance on revaluation reserve account of rupees 50,000 and on retained earning of rupees 75,000. Revaluation how much? 50,000. Retained earning 75,000. Stated capital how much? 400,000. Share issues at shares issued at rupees 1. The company decided to make a bonus issue. They have decided to issue bonus issue of 1 for 1. Bonus issue for 1 for 1. What are the closing balances of revaluation reserve and retained earnings? So what you need to understand, when they issue bonus shares, is there a change to revaluation reserve? No, there is no change to revaluation reserve. Revaluation reserve how much? 50,000. So 50,000 should be remains unchanged. So revaluation reserve 50,000. So then no need to read this question even. The answer should be what? A කියනවා මොකද්ද? Revaluation reserve reduced to 25,000, which cannot be, because we can't touch capital reserves to use what? Capital reserves to issue what? Bonus shares. B says 25,000 again. Completely wrong, no? D says nil. So without even reading or doing calculations, you can figure out the answer, which is answer C. Revaluation reserve 50,000, retained earning 325,000. No need to figure out this. By looking at revaluation reserve itself, you can find the answer. But we'll try to answer to retained earning part also. Now 1 for 1. How many state capital shares are there? 400,000. So number of bonus shares also 400,000. So you will issue 400,000 bonus shares also. Why? 1 for 1. Highlight this. 1 for 1. So then you have to use 400,000 rupees from retained earning, but the problem is you don't have revaluation reserve retained earning of how much? 400,000. Maximum you have retained earning 75,000. So then when you deduct 400,000, 75,000 minus 400,000, answer will be 225,000 minus negative, right? Negative. Negative means retained earning will be negative, right? Still you will not raise money, don't misunderstand. Maximum retained earning 75,000, balance 325,000. Shareholders should take money from their pocket. No, nothing like that. Return earning can be minus, right? Return earning minus, while return earning minus, that will be reclassified to shareholders. So next year onwards, when they earn profit, this minus figure will be plus, but there is no fundraising activity. Don't misunderstand. Share return earning minus una කියලා සල්ලි ගේන්නේ නැහැ business එකට. Why? Because this is retained earning, this is bonus issue, right? Therefore, answer is what? 50,000 revaluation reserve will be remains unchanged. Retained earning will be minus 325,000. So these are the questions that examiner can be tested, right? Fine. So in short, we have gone through right issue, bonus issue, retained earning, dividends, and revaluation surplus, reserves, debentures, market value of shares, ordinary shares, preference shares. When we talked about preference shares, redeemable preference shares, irredeemable preference shares, and company act requirements, and advantages and disadvantages of limited liability company, and the difference between shareholders and board of directors. So this knowledge is, I believe, more than enough to handle exam questions. And we have done some model paper, model questions also. Practice those questions and look at your study pack. We will do some more multiple MCQ questions in our model paper discussion. That's all about introduction to company accounting.